Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. You're listening to the Mo News Podcast. I'm Moshe Wanunu.
And I'm Jill Wagner. This is the place where we bring you just the facts.
And we read all the news and read between the lines so you don't have to. As we continue this shortened holiday week here in the U.S., Jill, it's Tuesday, but effectively it's sort of like Thursday for a normal week because, like, is anyone taking tomorrow seriously?
I'm not. I'm actually taking the day off. Thank you, Moshe.
Not only are you not taking it seriously, you are legitimately off. So this is a Friday for Jill, a Thursday for many of the rest of you.
And Moshe, we're basically 24 hours away from the let's circle back after the new year portion of the year.
With all due respect, I've been getting this email since about 2 weeks ago, Jill. We should reconnect in January. But yes, if you haven't gotten those notes yet, they are coming. Fast and furious.
And to that end, the White House Christmas tree has arrived in D.C. It was inspected by the First Lady. It's actually the first time that a Michigan farm has provided the Christmas tree in more than 4 decades. In case you're wondering how it is that these Christmas trees get picked, there's actually a contest from the National Christmas Tree Association. It gives Christmas tree growers across the country a chance to have their trees featured in the White House and also in the vice president's residence each Christmas season.
Learning a lot of things on today's podcast. First, there's a National Christmas Tree Association. Second, there's a whole contest that they hold. Third, the tree that the White House picked or that won the contest is from Corson's Tree Farms in Western Michigan. So congrats to you guys over there. Jill, the traditions continue at the White House today. President Trump, and what is one of the probably weirdest presidential traditions, the pardoning of the turkeys, happens today. You might see those images every year. Depending on the history you want to believe, it can go back to Abraham Lincoln, but really in earnest became a serious tradition under George H.W. Bush several decades ago.
I still enjoy it. It's bizarre, but it's one of those things that you're like, oh, what are their names? Where are they going to live the rest of their lives?
They put them up at a luxury hotel in D.C. Like I did that story probably when I was running Washington coverage for CBS News. I did that story every year. You know, everyone was like, okay, this year their names are Gobble and, you know.
Gobble and Gravy.
Gobble and Gravy. They're staying in a hotel. Here they are in $1,000 a night DC hotel. They're going to go off to live in a farm for the rest of their days and, you know, never have to be butchered. Yay. And always to look out for, like, whether there's any weird interactions, like whether one of them tried to nip the president. That's something we'll look out for today.
Okay, let's get to the headlines. Thanksgiving travel is here. So the shutdown is over, but some trouble in the holiday forecast could snarl travel over the holiday weekend. We'll tell you where and what to expect.
Looking at you, Great Lakes area.
One thing to be thankful for this year, hurricane season is ending without a single hurricane making a U.S. landfall. That hasn't happened in a decade.
Though we should note the Caribbean not as lucky this year.
To politics, case dismissed. A judge tossing the indictments against New York Attorney General Letitia James and ex-FBI Director James Comey. We'll tell you why and what comes next. In international news, a date has been set for President Trump's meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. What is on the agenda? Remember Elon Musk's DOGE? Well, there are still 8 months left on its charter, but apparently it no longer exists.
Officially. Though they say there's still some DOGE people around the government, Jill will explain.
Speaking of Elon Musk, X's new location feature exposing some accounts that claim to be from one place, but they are actually based somewhere else.
You think you know who you're following, and then you learn new details. That's why we here at Mo News are very transparent.
Long Island.
She's on Long Island. I'm in New York City.
At Industrious. It's like,
and if anyone says otherwise, someone's hacked our Twitter accounts.
We're talking holiday shopping and holiday shopping trends as we head into the big shopping weekend with Target, and a trending story that caught our eye. Celebrities are making smoking cigarettes cool again. They're
trying, Jill. We'll see if it's working. I got out of the subway yesterday and had a big poof of smoke that came into my face.
It's so 80s.
What did 80s call? They want their cigarettes back.
Moshe is on this day in history.
Jill, we'll be talking about party in the city where the heat is on all night on the beach till the break of dawn.
Welcome to...
Coming up on this day in history.
All right, Thanksgiving week is here. Unfortunately, the weather may not cooperate in parts of the country, especially the weekend after the holiday. Thanksgiving is forecast to be colder and with more snow than usual across a large part of the United States. That could put a crimp on what is expected to be record holiday travel, according to AAA. 82 million Americans are expected to take Thanksgiving holiday road trips. At the airports, the TSA is preparing for one of the busiest travel days in more than 2 decades. The agency is expecting to screen about 18 million travelers over 8 days between Tuesday, November 25th, today, and Tuesday, December 2nd, including more than 3 million people on Sunday alone. So even though the shutdown is over and not impacting travel, there is still the issue of bad weather. The National Weather Service is warning that the polar vortex, an area of cold air around the Arctic, could head south, bringing cooler than normal temps from Seattle to Dallas and across to Chicago. The National Weather Service saying the extreme weather may start as early as today. Then there's the Weather Prediction Center, which says significant snowfall totals are expected because of a storm system that is moving east from the northern Rockies, followed by lake effect snow behind it, especially from Wednesday until early Thursday. Parts of upper Michigan and northern Wisconsin will probably see some of the heaviest snow. We are talking 18 to 24 inches in some areas. And with that snow, expect some strong wind, potentially leading to whiteout conditions and snow drifts. And then there is another storm system over the southern plains, which is one of the biggest concerns as we head into Thanksgiving.
Yeah, check your local weather forecasts, especially those of you up in the UP there, Marquette, Michigan. You might get more than 2 feet up there. Buffalo, Western Pennsylvania. I mean, you guys are pretty familiar with lake effect snow, but it will coincide with the holiday this year. We'll also be looking at storms, not snow, but other storms in Northeast Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and the Mississippi Valley. That widespread rain is expected to move northeast over the next couple of days here. Added to the usual travel headaches, there's also a pipeline leak that disrupted jet fuel deliveries to Seattle-Tacoma Airport. So if you were planning to fly through there or into there or out of there, the Olympic pipeline, which carries gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel from refineries to Seattle Airport and other areas near there, that was shut down after a leak was discovered earlier this month. Now, some of the airlines have ramped up tanker trucks and other strategies in order to ensure continuous delay-free-ish travel. And so that's what we know about what's happening out there. But stay tuned to the Instagram feed for the latest on all of that this week.
And Moshe, if we want something to be thankful for this holiday season, and who doesn't, hurricane season is about to end on November 30th, to be exact. And for the first time in a decade, there has not been a single mainland U.S. hurricane landfall. Of course, this does not mean it's going to stay like this forever, especially as climate change continues to warm the oceans. But let's take one hurricane season at a time.
Yes, I mean, we are coming off of some of the worst hurricane seasons the last few years here, Jill. And as for the season itself, the Atlantic Ocean was active this year. There were 13 named storms, 5 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes, which means, above a category 3. 3 of those, by the way, category 5 storms. That was Erin, Umberto, and Melissa. Melissa was the most recent one we covered. That was the one that led to catastrophic damage in Jamaica, also hit Cuba and the Bahamas. Hurricane Melissa actually produced a record wind gust of 252 miles per hour, the strongest ever recorded by the hurricane hunters. But thankfully, for those of you living in the mainland U.S., you didn't experience that. And there's a variety of factors here that they're looking at as to what they characterize a screwball hurricane season. It was a mix of warm sea temperatures, light wind shear, late season atmospheric patterns that led the U.S. mainland to luck out there. At the same time, the hurricanes that did form became very powerful and formed very quickly, Jill. So at least the 2025 season is done here. But given what we've seen in recent years, meteorologists say they don't know whether or how long this can last into 2026 or 2027 because there's a lot of patterns they watch here. La Nina, El Nino. This year was like a, what do they call it? La Nada. It's a nothing year. We were going in between.
I like that.
El Nino and La Nina. And so next year, potentially, we could be facing storms, at least on the U.S. mainland. We'll look out for that.
Now to politics, a major blow to the Trump administration as it looks to prosecute two of President Trump's political adversaries. A federal judge on Monday dismissed the indictments against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. White House spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt saying the Justice Department is going to appeal the decision. Interestingly, the dismissal has nothing to do with the merits of either case. Instead, the judge ruled that the interim U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, in Virginia was unlawfully appointed to the role. The White House installed Halligan after the previous interim U.S. Attorney, Eric Siebert, declined to pursue charges against James Comey, finding that there was not enough evidence. Siebert was then reportedly pushed out early after refusing to pursue the prosecution of Comey. And that is when Trump suggested to the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, that she put Lindsay Halligan, Trump's personal attorney, into that position instead. But under the Constitution and legal statutes, once Siebert's term ended, the Attorney General no longer had the authority to name another interim replacement without Senate confirmation. As we know, Bondi installed Lindsay Halligan in September as the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. And that is what the judge on Monday said violated the Constitution's appointments clause. And because Halligan lacked lawful authority, her actions before the grand jury, including signing the indictment, were invalid, requiring the indictment's dismissal. Follow that, Moshe?
Basically, Jill, the judge is saying Halligan had no business being interim U.S. attorney. And the chief law enforcement figure in the country, the attorney general, broke the rules, broke the Constitution in appointing her. Now, these cases, technically, especially against Letitia James, and if somehow they're able to get like enough friendly decisions, they could convince a judge to hear the James Comey case again with a lawfully appointed U.S. attorney, but keeping in mind that the statute of limitations, the 5 years, has run out on James Comey. So that is very unlikely to be revived here. But the merits of the cases still have not been adjudicated. And so the big question will be for the Justice Department, among other things, when will they appoint a lawfully appointed U.S. attorney? And are they willing to go before a grand jury again and try these cases again, especially given the president's interest in pursuing these cases? A reminder on Halligan, we've told you about her in the past, that she had a lot of work cut out for her. Because she had no prosecutorial experience. She's literally the Comey and James cases were going to be the first two cases she ever prosecuted. She worked as an attorney in the insurance industry in Florida before becoming an advisor to Trump, a personal attorney to Trump. And then in the fallout of Siebert being pushed out, she was put there basically to prosecute James Comey. So now the court has thrown that out. The Comey team was already prepared to argue that this was a vindictive prosecution. They had a whole bunch of arguments they had ready to roll here. But now the judge just throwing out the entire case based on the fact that the person prosecuting them wasn't legally there from their perspective. So we will watch the government's appeal on Halligan's appointment and then whatever happens next. Comey reacting to all of this, applauding the judge's decision, but saying he knows Trump is not done with him yet.
I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again. And my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent. I am not afraid. And I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant.
Reinforcing what Comey just said, here's Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, saying Comey shouldn't be celebrating either. Here's a bit of what she said on Fox News.
And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order.
So we shall see what happens. But for now, the Comey case is dead and Letitia James' case is dead.
All right, time for the speed read from the New York Times. President Trump says he has accepted an invitation from China's leader, Xi Jinping, to visit Beijing in April. It follows a call between the two leaders on Monday morning. It took place several weeks after that summit between the leaders in South Korea. Officials agreed to a year-long truce that has rolled back many of the tariffs that Trump imposed on China and also the retaliatory measures that Beijing took in return. In a social media post Monday, Trump said it was a very good telephone call. They spoke about Ukraine, China's exports of chemicals used to make fentanyl, and its purchase of farm products. He says, now we could set our sights on the big picture. He said President Xi invited me to visit Beijing in April, which I accepted, and I reciprocated, where he will be my guest for a state visit in the U.S. later in the year. In its readouts, Chinese state media said Monday that the leaders had discussed the situation in Ukraine and that Xi had called for both countries to maintain the positive momentum in their relationship since the South Korea meeting. Now, although the U.S. and China are greeting the prospect of an economic truce, U.S. officials anyway, have appeared a bit wary in recent weeks about whether all of the promises that were made at that South Korea summit will actually be fulfilled.
One interesting thing that came up, at least in the Chinese readout of the phone call and not in Trump's post about the phone call, is that the Chinese say that the Chinese premier clarified China's, quote, principled position on Taiwan. That is the self-governing democratic island just off the coast of China that China lays claim to. The Chinese saying that she told Trump on the call that Taiwan's return to China is an important part of the post-war international order. When he's talking about post-war, we're talking about post-war World War II, a reminder that Taiwan used to be a part of China, but then with the Communist Revolution, the democratically elected government fled to Taiwan, and that's where effectively they've been governing for the past, more than half century. And this has been a concern for a while, is when will China attempt an invasion or through other means, a complete takeover of Taiwan? The U.S. has always been very ambiguous in its position, standing by Taiwan, but also recognizing what they call a one China policy, saying, yeah, no, China, you're totally just one country, including Taiwan, but also supporting and giving weapons to the Taiwanese government. And the big question has been whether the U.S. would actually use our military to support Taiwan in the case that the Chinese invade. Now, interestingly, Trump made a point in his Truth Social post of not mentioning Taiwan at all. He says that we talked about a lot of things, including fentanyl, Ukraine, farm products, but doesn't mention Taiwan. So that certainly caught a lot of people's attention yesterday. One of the areas of focus was soybean sales. The Chinese recently committed to buying more American soybeans. They've been a huge market for years. They cut off purchases in the spring, and they still are not buying what they said they would, the pledges. They pledged to buy 12 million metric tons. They've only bought so far 1.5 million metric tons, and that's been a huge deal for American farmers. So that was one of the conversations here, along with the rare earth minerals. These are special materials that China happens to have most of, that go to a lot of technologies, including electric car batteries and other technologies that are valuable in the new economy. And so, like we've been telling you for a very long time, every time China and U.S. talks come up, a lot of topics on the agenda. But it is a pretty big deal, Jill, that Trump will be heading to China and that Xi Jinping will be in America. Two things we're looking ahead to in 2026.
From Reuters, President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency has disbanded. With 8 months left to its mandate, it ended an initiative launched with fanfare as a symbol of Trump's pledge to slash the government size. But critics say it delivered few measurable savings. Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Cooper told Reuters earlier this month, when asked about DOGE's status, quote, "That doesn't exist." He said it is no longer a centralized entity, which are the first public comments from the Trump administration about the end of DOGE. Of course, it was Elon Musk who initially led DOGE. He regularly touted his work on his platform X, and at one point even brandished a chainsaw to advertise his efforts to cut government jobs. The two men, Musk and Trump, have since had a major falling out, although notably Musk was spotted last week at the White House dinner for Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So Moshe, goodbye Doge. We hardly knew ya. Although the impact and some people involved still being felt.
Oh, certainly. They had very, 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 very aspirational goals, right? Elon Musk at one point was like, we're going to cut $2 trillion out of the federal annual budget. By the way, it's a budget of between 6 and 7 trillion. So a third of the federal budget, when most of that money is already basically committed to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. $1 trillion a year just pays off our interest on the loans the government takes out. So we always knew that he had sort of unrealistic or very ambitious plans. Now, ultimately, even if you go to the DOGE website, they claim they've cut $200 billion in spending. Now, a lot of that is difficult to verify because they never really showed their receipts. And there are people, including Jill, in the Mo News community who've sent us notes being like, yeah, they cut a bunch of contracts for things and claim savings when we actually already paid out those contracts. So, in fact, we paid those contracts out and then didn't get what we paid for because we canceled them. Bottom line, if you look at spending this year, the federal government has spent $200 billion plus more this year than last year. So effectively negating the DOGE savings. Plus, if you look at the amount of debt accrued this year, the U.S. debt has gone up by about $2 trillion this year. So there is that. At the same time, remember, DOGE was involved in like the dismemberment of USAID and a whole bunch of other agencies that we saw unfold there in the early months of the Trump administration. So certainly hundreds of thousands of government employees felt that impact. Some no longer have a job due to what we saw with DOGE. And there is some pushback from some DOGE people who are still in the government saying, yeah, there's no central DOGE entity anymore, no central office, but individual federal agencies and departments still have individual DOGE teams that are working to weed out potential mismanagement. Now, at the same time, President Trump, in recent appearances, when he's mentioned DOGE, he refers to DOGE in the past tense, and it's not clear what is really coming of it. Congress was very into it in the beginning as a way to cut things, at least certain members of Congress. They joined the DOGE caucus, but then they were never really briefed on things besides a couple of early meetings with Elon Musk. So much to do, much buzz about it, but ultimately it's hard to account for exactly what they did, but they certainly came in with a bulldozer or chainsaw, as Elon Musk did. And Jill, one of the interesting things, there's a Politico story that recently came out that some DOGE employees have been told, or former DOGE employees, depending on whether they're still there, to lawyer up because they expect potential lawsuits here in the coming years. And they don't know that Elon or the administration will be there to protect them.
Speaking of Elon Musk, from the Mo News Instagram, his social media platform X, formerly Twitter, has a new location transparency tool. So if you think you know who you are following on X, this new tool is blowing open the real locations of major political accounts, and many of them are nowhere near the places that they have been claiming to be from. This tool is revealing accounts supposedly from Gaza to the United States to Scotland, and they're actually posting from countries and areas that do not match those identities. That includes several large MAGA-aligned accounts that present themselves as U.S. voters, but they're actually based abroad. At 1776 General has over 140,000 followers. It's known for election fraud claims and constitutional messaging. That appears to be in Turkey. At MAGA Nation X, which pushes crime headlines and immigration content and Trump clips, to about 400,000 followers. That is based in Eastern Europe. America_First has nearly 70,000 followers, posting pro-Trump clips and border commentary. That is based in Bangladesh. You can use this new location feature by clicking on any account's joined date, and it now opens up a tab showing the country or region where that account is located.
It goes on and on, Jill. There's an account with more than 400,000 followers called @FemaleBodyBill6, MAGA Nadine. We don't know who this Nadine is or whether they're even named Nadine. They post about anti-trans legislation and vaccine skepticism. That account is based in Morocco. And it goes on and on, Jill, with various accounts you might be following that are posting things about U.S. politics and happen to be based in all these various places around the world. It's not just limited to domestic accounts. They have found that one self-described Gaza-based journalist who was describing what was going on in Gaza, that person apparently, or that account based in Poland, that included battlefield footage that they claimed was they were posting their own footage from Gaza. Again, this person in Poland. There is another account called @TimesOfGaza that has 1 million followers. It's actually located somewhere in East Asia, according to the new transparency. So this goes on and on and on. One account was promising insider information on the border czar, Tom Homan. They claim they are in Virginia. It turns out they're based in Eastern Europe as well. And so, Jill, I think this is sort of a breath of fresh air here to have some transparency to some of these accounts. At the same time, you can use a VPN to claim you're from anywhere when you build an account. And I'm sure some people will be doing that in the future now that they're aware of the transparency feature. So people are always trying to get around this stuff. But super interesting to watch the discussion happening over on X the past couple days.
Moshe's next story coming to us from our partnership with Target. Some new data from YouGov polling offers a clearer picture of what Americans hope to receive this holiday season. And the results reveal some generational divide, which is to be expected. Clothes and shoes once again top the list, with 37% of Americans saying that they want that the most. The category is even more popular among Gen Z at 43%. Books rank second at 22%, followed by food and snacks at 21%.
Food and snacks for the holidays, Jill.
I don't turn down food, by the way.
I hear you.
Video games are of high interest for Gen Zers. About 1 in 4 say that they're looking for video games this season. Gen Z also into health and beauty products. About 19% want a gift from that category. Moshe, we know Gen Z very into skincare these days.
Gen Z and Alpha Gen.
That's right. And it's slightly higher than the overall average of about 15% when you bring in all ages. And one more really interesting result, especially as you're buying gifts this season, is about gift cards. So 39% of Americans give them, but only 10% say that they actually want one, which means that gift cards are one of the most over-gifted items of the holidays. Moshe, you could count me as one of the people who really doesn't love gift cards, because I can't even believe I'm going to admit this. I tend to lose them or just not spend them.
I think that is a reality for many people, Jill. It's also one of the reasons I think stores like the gift cards so much, because
it's perfect.
It's perfect. All that money will not eventually be spent, or the reverse, you'll spend the gift card, but you'll ultimately buy more than what's on the gift card. And so that's always an advantage for them as well. I will say this, and I think I count my wife in this group. I don't hate a gift card. Like, unless you know me very well, we've had a discussion about something I would like. I would prefer a gift card as opposed to you buying me something and then figuring out the return policy. Did you give me a gift receipt with it? Do I have to exchange it? Just the gift card. The gift card works for me, and I understand that is not meaningful, right? Especially for the gift giver, but I'm not against it.
Well, Moshe, I know you visited Target recently and you talked to them all about the holiday season. So what did you find out?
Yeah, so we didn't talk gift cards, but we did talk about what they expect the biggest items will be this season. That includes, well, we talked about it, video games, the Nintendo Switch consoles and games. They're also expecting Legos to be big, Apple products, as well as entertainment gifts and board games. A throwback there. Now, one other interesting poll number when it comes to shopping that Target is taking very seriously is that 6 in 10 Americans tell pollsters that they feel like a number, not a person, when they shop. And retailers like Target are looking to make it a better experience. As part of our partnership with Target, we recently visited one of their newest stores in Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas-Fort Worth there. And they say they're leaning into something they call joyful shopping, rethinking store design, customer interactions, and what it feels like the moment you enter the store. They say their approach comes down to one thing, people, and they make a point at Target of not calling us customers, Jill. They call us guests when we come to Target. And there's a concept they're drilling into the folks that work at Target. It is a concept they call 10-4. Within 10 feet, you will get a wave or a smile from an associate at Target. If they're within 4 feet of you, you'll get a greeting, a good morning, a hello. And they say that that philosophy also applies to how they're building the stores. One of the notable things, as we talk about technology in these newer stores, is they actually first open the store with a lot more self-checkout lanes. But some of the feedback they got from shoppers is that they're actually looking for human interaction. So they've ripped out some of those self-checkout lanes and put in more belted lanes instead.
I noticed that actually at my local Target, and I have to say I'm not the biggest fan of the self-checkout, especially because when I go to Target, as we've discussed, I usually have a ton of stuff. And so it's not always so easy to do it myself.
And bag it yourself and find the scanner on everything. And then especially if you're doing produce, it gets a little more complicated, right? And so one of the things I took away from the visit there too is they genuinely want feedback, both good and negative, Jill. And so as they approach the stores this holiday season and beyond, they are looking to continually adapt and iterate based on what they're hearing from all of us. One thing they did make a point of noting definitely get the Target app. You can see if things are in stock at your local Target. You can also order them in advance. And they have multiple ways to save. They have the Target Circle membership, which is free and gets you deals at the stores. So definitely check out Target Circle. And they also have Target Circle 360, which is $99 a year and gives you faster shipping, free deliveries, a whole bunch of benefits there. So definitely check that out.
And finally, from the Wall Street Journal, celebrities are making smoking cigarettes cool again, or at least they're trying to. Cigarettes have been resurfacing in pop music and movies, raising some fear that a years-long decline in smoking rates could reverse. On the silver screen, about half of all movies that made their debut last year included appearances of cigarettes, cigars, and other tobacco products. That is up 10% from the previous year. This is according to a new report from the public health nonprofit Truth Initiative. With more actors, pop stars, and other celebs spotted unapologetically smoking, the cultural taboo against it is showing signs of ebbing. The Wall Street Journal pointing to singers like Addison Rae and Lorde. Sabrina Carpenter was recently photographed wearing a corset made of Marlboro gold packages. And she sells shirts that have song names emblazoned on mock-ups of cigarette boxes and lighters.
Everything comes around, Jill. I'm sort of imagining, podcasting is sort of a throwback in some ways because we're pitching various products. And I'm imagining CBS archives. When I was CBS News, we'd pull up the old clips of like Mike Wallace and Edward R. Murrow, like sitting there being like, this broadcast is brought to you by Virginia Slims. Nothing is smoother on your breath than a Virginia Slim. It was actually a fun fact. Not that we were doing cigarettes at that point, but one of the only people at CBS that still had written into their contract that they could do those ads was Charlie Osgood, the longtime host of CBS Sunday Morning, who sadly passed several years ago. And he got to do those way into the 21st century when that was done. But smoking rates in the U.S. have been hovering at their lowest levels in decades for a while. That comes even amid the rise of vaping here. But since the early 2000s, anti-smoking campaigns have flooded TV. And for years, celebrities, high-profile individuals have generally shunned smoking, at least in public, though there was talk in the Obama White House that President Obama would sort of, smoke behind the Oval Office just off camera. He confessed that he was having trouble quitting over time. But interesting trend line here that the anti-smoking campaigns were so successful, but you are seeing the rise of vaping and people try to differentiate between vaping and cigarettes. But I hope for the sake of everyone, now that we know the impact of cigarettes, that this doesn't catch on among the youths too much.
The youths.
The youths. Speaking of things that were history, on this day in history, on this day in 1942, Leslie Groves and J. Robert Oppenheimer, you might know that last name from that big film a couple years ago, they chose Los Alamos, New Mexico on this day in history in 1942 as the site of Project Y, which would become the site where they would develop the first atomic bomb within just over 2 years of picking the site. On this day in 1952, The Mousetrap, a murder mystery play written by Agatha Christie, opened in London. What's notable, Jill, is you can still go see The Mousetrap, which opened on this day 73 years ago. There was a slight break during COVID, but we're talking about tens of thousands of performances. And so The Mousetrap, the longest running play in the world, continues. On this day in 1963, President John F. Kennedy is laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery after a funeral procession through Washington where an estimated 1 million people lined the route. And we end with a bit of pop culture history. In her debut film on this day 33 years ago, Whitney Houston plays a pop diva. What else? In The Bodyguard, which includes the hit song, her version of the hit song, I Will Always Love You. The iconic song would help that film become one of the biggest films of 1992.
And
Jill, even the best singers avoid trying to do the Whitney Houston. That was always something I remember watching on American Idol when like Simon Cowell was like, no.
Oh, they're going to do it. Don't. Just don't.
Don't. You will be compared to Whitney and it never works out for anybody. Also premiering on this day in history, not only The Bodyguard, Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin, premiered on this day 33 years ago in theaters. And as we noted at the top of the pod, or quoted, noted and quoted, Will Smith releases his solo debut album on this day in 1997, Big Willie Style, which includes Welcome to Miami and Getting Jiggy With It. And Just the Two of Us. Big album for Will Smith. That was years before he slapped Chris Rock.
It is so sad, isn't it?
Can you do a Will Smith mention without mentioning that he slapped Chris Rock? I think the statute of limitations on that has not run out.
Not even close, unfortunately, for Will Smith. All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening to the Mo News Podcast. If you like what you hear, please share this with your friends. It will help us grow. Follow us, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Review us in the App Store. We appreciate it.
And don't forget the big Mo News Premium sale going on right now, the biggest sale of the year, their Black Friday sale. The code is THANKS. Go there now for 30% off Mo News Premium. It'll secure your membership for the year at our best deal of the year, mo.news/premium. Code THANKS.